Hey, welcome back. I'm really pumped for today because we are talking about something that someone who may be an advanced advertiser or cares about their ranking on Google and understanding Google Analytics. Um, there's a big shift that's happening in your business over the next 18 months. And Desiree Grimaldi here from One by One Impression is actually going to be helping us work through the upcoming shift from Google's Universal Analytics platform to the G4A. And I'm really pumped because I'm honestly super basic at knowing this. And Desiree is an absolute master with this. And in today's interview, we're actually going to be walking through what this shift over to G4A in Google Analytics means for your business, what you could do about it, and what are some steps you can take today to get ahead of this shift that Google is implementing by summer of 2023. But you guys may not know who Desiree is. She is the founder and CEO of onebyOneImpression.com. I'm going to put a link to all this, by the way, in the show notes or on YouTube if you are watching. And she is a SEO expert and helps with traffic management and really helping you get your business discovered, and has been doing this with all sorts of businesses for 2011. But don't worry, if you're an online seller and you're like, oh, well, that doesn't apply, it actually completely does, because e-commerce is actually going to be one of the more affected kind of niches and verticals that we're going to be seeing with this big Google shift. So outside of that, I'm going to shut up. But Desiree, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting.
So let's jump into it. I know that I gave a super quick overview of what you do, but I'd love if you could just walk us through a little bit with what kind of work you do actually help businesses with behind the scenes and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so we started in 2011. My husband was partners in another business, and I was admin, and they were buying leads. And the leads were like $50, $75. And I was like, this is horrible. So we started running Google ads, and we started creating our own leads, and they were half the price. And so that just led me down this whole SEO because I was like, well, if people can find us, then we're spending less money on ads. So it all ended up just kind of piecing together very nicely. And that's what led me down here. It's crazy because I actually have a degree in law. Don't use it.
Oh, I love that. Totally up. You're like, I want to be a lawyer. Actually, I like this way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Google, it's like you're in a courtroom. You're always battling their algorithm and rules. But yeah, so we've been helping businesses grow, whether it's their leads, their revenue, their reputation, just really helping them build a solid online blueprint or footprint, or, and their own real estate. We've seen all these different social medias go down. People have invested all their time into them, which social medias are a part of SEO. But when you're solely reliant on there and you're like, I don't need a website, I'll just build a funnel, or I'll just, market everywhere online on the social platforms, you put yourself in a really bad situation. So we're just trying to make SEO available to everybody at this point and help them grow and make it evergreen.
Yeah, because it's and if anyone wants to follow up on SEO, let us know in the comments. But SEO, it's kind of like taking a shot in the dark and guessing what people want and then not ranking for anything because people aren't searching for those, or taking a really specific strategy based on what people are actually searching for, how to show up where they're searching, and then how to capture that.
Well, yeah, because as a business owner, you're thinking, okay, they're searching SEO. So that's the keyword that people would hammer down on. And you have to step out of your common knowledge, which is really hard for business owners, and go, maybe they don't even know what SEO is. Maybe they've never heard of it. Maybe they are looking, how do I rank? How do I get more traffic? How do I get more sales to my blog? You have to really expand and bring it down to beginner level when you're thinking keywords and you're thinking SEO and the way people are searching and the behaviors they have. Because you could get caught up, and a lot of business owners are guilty, myself included, of writing what they want to write, writing what they like, writing what they think. And that's not what your consumers are looking for. And they go, well, it's great content. Why am I not getting traffic? Well, because maybe you're writing at a college level. Maybe your consumers are international and English isn't their first language, or so the content doesn't mesh. I read an article that said you should write most of your content at like a 6th grade level, because then it encompasses a much broader audience because of where everybody may be due to life situations or even just cultural differences or language barriers. So even just little things like that, if you're writing with all your big jargon for your niche, people are like, I don't even know what that means. And they leave.
Yeah. We get that a lot when we work with engineers and doctors who are amazing with creating awesome products, but they're not marketers. And so when we take like their big gibberish words, I'm like, please explain it to me as if I'm 5. Like, I don't understand this. So
like when I'm Googling a symptom on Google, like I want it to make sense. And
why does my head hurt? Not what are the symptoms of blah, 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 blah. Or whatnot. So awesome. So I would love to dig into the analytics side of the platform. For those that might be watching that are complete novices, can we just do a quick overview of what Google Analytics is first? And then we'll jump into the properties.
Yeah, so Google Analytics is a way for you to track your data. It started out where it just tracked website traffic. Now you introduce like UTMs for Facebook and things like that, where it's trying to pull in all the sources into one place that end up landing on your site. It also tracks paid ads. So right now we have Universal, which has all of its separate UTMs and separate properties and all the complicated ways to make sure you're tracking and pulling in everything. We're switching to Google Analytics 4. They keep moving dates around slightly, but we're just going to go with July of 2023 is the launch. However, you can set it up now and it is pulling in information. So you don't have to wait. We don't recommend that you wait, because now's the time. If everybody jumps on it, then they can work out the quirks a lot quicker than everybody waiting till July. And the new information is priceless. So our theory behind it is you can't grow what you don't track. We recommend, we won't even work on an ad account if they don't have Google Analytics set up. We won't start SEO. We don't do anything until Google Analytics is set up. Even when we were doing Facebook ads, we were like, is your Google set up? We're doing it. So Google Analytics 4 is more across websites. And for all intents and purposes, like Shopify is an application more than a website. So Shopify, a lot of the other applications, Amazon Shopping, Audible, things like that, where you would be marketing, it's going to be able to pull in a lot more data, and it is conversion based. So it has a lot more of your conversion. So you know that you're not throwing money away.
So would it be as easy as to say, like right now with Universal Analytics, it is very overwhelming because there's a lot of different data views there, whatnot, but to properly track, like Universal out of the box will tell you, oh, you got some traffic from Facebook and you got some traffic from TikTok and you got some Google searches. But if you're not using UTM parameters, which are customized trackable links, that will actually give you a chance on, say, Facebook ads, when you use a special link or a UTM parameter to say, track sales at the campaign level, or be able to tell me specifically which ad generated sales. That in Universal Analytics, by using UTM links, will allow you to build out overall better picture of how things are performing. But it's like super complicated because you have to be using UTM links everywhere and then track that. But what you're saying is that moving over to G4A is that, or GA, sorry, is it GA4 or G4A?
GA4.
GA4. Okay. See, super noob, which is why you're here. So GA4 will allow you to a more out of the box experience so that you don't have to use Universal Analytics, because they promise a better tracking of the whole ecosystem between your ads, between Shopify, between Etsy, between like all your traffic sources. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. So not only that, with Universal Google Analytics, some of the problems, and I haven't seen the huge change just yet, but it's in the talks of it's going to be included. But some of the big problems is people run their offers through like a funnel. I'll just say a funnel instead of naming any.
Yeah.
But they put them through a funnel. Well, they may not have access to the thank you page coding section. So now when you're using a UTM in Universal Analytics, you can't get that UTM on the page that it actually needs to track
Or
the conversion.
Yeah.
So now your conversions are tracking as clicks because you have it in the header somewhere in the beginning of that funnel.
Yeah.
So nothing's adding up. Where with the new GA4, you have me confusing it now. With the new GA4, you actually set up a tag. So that tag, you can specifically say, track only a conversion from a purchase. Like you can really narrow it down. Okay. So it watches and it knows it purchases. Beyond that too, if you are a paid advertiser, or if you're doing it for yourself, Google is tracking. So say somebody sees your promotion on Facebook, but then they go and Google you 2 days later because they didn't have time to look. Google's following them for 30 days as that original click. So you're not going to have that confusion as much anymore of, well, now my website traffic has skyrocketed, but my ad's doing bad, because your ad may be doing great, but your target may be a busy mom. So she's seen it. She knew she wanted to come back to it. She didn't have time. Well, Google's going to track her for 30 days and say, that still came from this ad, even though she came to the website. So that you're getting more clarity on what's working and what's not.
Because right now we were working with an e-commerce client that's in Universal Analytics, and we're seeing ads on TikTok and Facebook either saying they're getting a ton of sales or saying they're getting no sales. But then when let's say in one case where there was 1 week where we got like one purchase off Facebook and nothing from TikTok, we go into Google Analytics and their overall sales have gone up, and suddenly 35% of their revenue is coming from Google search, when they're not running any Google shopping campaigns and they're not doing any like major brand awareness outside of Facebook and TikTok. So when we dug into Search Console to see like, what are people searching for? It's a direct link that looks like someone went to TikTok, saw the journal, and then went straight to Google and typed in XYZ journal. And now Google is tracking that as a Google purchase. So we don't know, but there's no like, we can guess that, okay, well, because of our efforts on Facebook, TikTok, that is increasing Google organic purchases, but we can't directly track to know 100% if that's in fact what's happening. So to be able to see.
Well, you can, because if they're searching for direct name, then they already know who you are.
Exactly.
The only way it would be Google is if they're searching the type of journal and then you're popping up. But if they're searching your direct name, then they're probably like me, because I go on TikTok all the time. And if I want to buy something, I'll click, but I will never make the purchase in TikTok. I always leave just for security purposes. I mean, we've seen them all get hacked. So I'll always leave and go to Google, or we go to Google to look at reviews and then click.
Yeah. But it's like, I would be able to, and it's obvious in this case where someone's searching directly for that specific keyword, it's pretty obvious, but I would like to be able to see in Google Analytics a customer that was like, oh, came from Facebook, searched Google, made this purchase, came from TikTok, searched, made this purchase, so that we can actually see like how, because what I would love to see is like, if we're splitting ad spend between Facebook and TikTok 50-50, I would love to know like, okay, well, how many TikTok people are moving over to Google and how many Facebook people, like which is a better platform that's actually getting us these sales? And to be able to dig in further for attribution would be amazing. So that's one of the features of GA4 that I am very excited for.
Yeah. So it won't say like found on TikTok, went to Google, like it'll just count it as a TikTok,
which is perfect
revenue and a Facebook revenue. So that's good. So those will be like events that you'll set up in Tag Manager. So going into GA4, or before you even think about converting to GA4, you want Google Search Console, Google Tag Manager, and Google Analytics. Then you are going to have to create a new property for GA4. So right now you can have both going and kind of see like, okay, well, this is here. this is here, and kind of build it out and watch how everything transforms, so that if they are going to let something go, you can kind of watch and see what that missing piece might be, or just because it's new, they're going to have to tweak it as it goes. If you're a big data person, make sure you download your data because it's going to be gone when it's gone.
Yeah. No, that's a great tip. So big changes coming. We're in this weird transition period right now where we can still access both and learn GA4 before our universal is gone forever. So we have about less than 12 months, give or take, to make that change. Why this matters for small business owners, I would say better attribution across the board right now, because what we're seeing, and I love you to expand on this a bit, but what we're seeing right now is that when you're advertising on Google, TikTok, Facebook, you have traffic from influencers, you have multiple traffic sources, but you have Facebook ads reporting something that when you go to Google, the numbers don't add up. When you see the TikTok dashboard, Google Analytics doesn't add up. Platforms are trying to get the credit for the sale, that when you look at reports and numbers, nothing adds up. Like Facebook, again, can report $1,000 in sales, but if Google says it didn't come from that, it's like, we're not able to paint a good picture holistically of what's actually working with a business. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, like, why does it matter for businesses to start moving over to GA4, and what are we hoping to be able to get better? Like things like attribution, for example.
Yeah. So I love all platforms. They all serve a purpose. Yeah. However, Facebook has always had a bad reputation for their metrics. Yeah. So hands down, always go with what Google's saying.
Yeah, I've learned that. Yes.
But that's what I think Google's goal is. I mean, what is it? I think Bing and Google are both working on even further than this GA4 coming probably after they launch this, but they're working on where you could even create all your ads under the developer section of Google. Oh. So you'll be able to create your Facebook ads, your Twitter ads, I mean, that's even what they're moving into, because they know that that is one of the biggest struggles. That is really, just as much as they're concerned for like SEO and websites for user experience, they're also concerned about the user experience of people who are using their platform. YouTube is one of the best, like customer service, things like that. And of course they're owned by Google. Google Ads, same thing. So they're trying to make it not only better for the consumers, but the consumers on the back end, the creators and business owners. Yeah. So, I mean, if you ask why analytics is important, it's all about the money.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, you can't grow what you're not tracking. You don't know what you're throwing your money away on that's not working if you're not tracking it, if you don't have these ways. So a perfect example, I had a client who she spent $27,000 on Facebook ads in a month.
Yeah.
And the person that was running it had it set up for conversions, and every click was being counted as a conversion. So he was calling her and he's like, oh, we have all these sales. Not one of them was a sale. It was a click, or it was an engagement. So she kept saying, well, spend more. If you're getting all these sales, they weren't sales, but we were able to figure that out on Google's end, that we had converted, because we were a little bit further into with our background with the UTMs and making sure that they were connected and working properly. Yeah. But that is Google's goal. That is where you're going. If you're a business owner, especially in the times we're in, you want to make sure that you're spending money on the things that are working. And the only way to do that is by properly tracking them.
Yeah. And I'm going to be vulnerable here. There's a client we're working with that another case where we're doing TikTok and TikTok and Facebook. And after 2 months of advertising, if you just look at the data only on Facebook, it looks like we're not getting that much traction. If you look at the data on TikTok, it looks like we're not getting that much traction. But in analytics, we have a 35% increase in sales, traffic, et cetera, from Google organic. Mm-hmm. And now as an advertiser, as we're looking at that, I want to be able to look at the platform numbers and say, we're doing awesome on Facebook. We need to double down because Facebook is generating the most interest, the most qualified buyers, et cetera. But I find with the existing UA property, and yes, we are using UTM parameters and stuff, but because people go from Facebook to Google, I find that improper tracking, we as advertisers, even business owners, can't properly read what is actually working. And because of that, there's an opportunity to lose money. So we're looking at that like, does this mean there's an opportunity to move over to Google Ads because it's more qualified traffic, or are we reading the data incorrectly? So
I think you're reading the data incorrectly.
Okay, yeah.
As a marketer, as somebody in the industry, we demand access to Google Analytics prior to starting. Not demand, that probably sounds rude, but that is one of our onboarding requirements.
Yes.
Go back. You said you've been doing it for 2 months?
Yep, 2 months.
So Google Analytics is really great. They have this tool with the calendar. Go back 2 months. Yeah. Measure their data prior to you ever coming on. That's an easy.
Just look at it holistically and say your
this
sales.
Is where you were 2 months ago.
Yep.
This is where you are today. These are our efforts. Now, if they're not on GA4, get them on GA4 now.
Yeah.
But if they're not ready to make that jump, then create new pages. I mean, I've done that for clients. I've said, okay, well, you don't want to give me the benefit of the doubt that our efforts did this. Create a landing page for Facebook ads. Create a landing page for TikTok ads.
Yeah.
Let's see where they're going completely away from your website.
Good call. Because right now, when we look at the data, we see a 30% increase in overall revenue. But I guess what I was trying to get at is right now, as we have it set up, it's like, is that because of Facebook or TikTok? Like, which one? Because right now it's just like,
obviously my first recommendation is get them on GA4.
Cool. Yeah.
That's gonna help you tremendously. That's gonna help anybody tremendously. And it gives you time before everything else goes away to get comfortable, to build it out. So every client is different.
Yep.
Some clients, they're just looking for a way to justify not paying out until they don't and see that, all that 30% is now gone because these things aren't being done. So maybe what they were doing was actually working. You have the clients who are scared of change. They're like, it's new. I'm not going to understand it. I don't have time for it. I don't want to do it. Which I don't necessarily recommend everybody trying to do it on their own because it's a little temperamental to get it going. But when it is going, it's fantastic. It's already producing results. And then if they're really being stubborn about it, I've created separate landing pages. We'll track it that way because you don't want to update your Google Analytics, or you don't, think that this is the case, then we're going to be sending them completely different places.
I love that because it's a true split test versus sending everything to, say, one product page or one opt-in, whatever that funnel looks like, and see a true test that way. So,
and we usually have to do that for us because we do Google ads, and then we may do a social media platform ad. So we have to do that regardless because Google ads is a cold audience.
Yeah.
So it cannot match the same landing page as a social ad, which is warm. Yeah. So we split test like that all the time, not necessarily for analytics, but just
other marketing. And I love that. So guys, you can see why I brought Desiree on because we're actually in the same mastermind, and a conversation in one of the threads came up and I was like, oh yeah, attribution's killing us. What do we do? Because like everyone is complaining about attribution. And I was like, I know Google's making a shift. I don't understand it, but I do know that this is something that business owners have to get on top of now because you are literally losing money if you can't read the data properly.
And it's real-time data too.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Didn't Facebook up it now where you don't get results for
3 days or so?
Yeah. I was going to say 48 to 72 hours.
Something like that. Yeah.
So Google is now real time, which is why I've always favored Google ads over social, because Google ads, you could go in there and tweak them and mess with them and they're real time.
Yeah.
other social platforms, you try and then it messes up the ad and then it has to relearn and you
Yeah,
have
but
to
it's like
wait 3 days to see if it's working. So, but yeah, so
Yeah.
the universal analytics, even though Facebook may take longer to report to you, your data coming in will be real time.
Fantastic. Yeah, because try to go in after 3 days of testing. You're like, which creative is working? Oh, sorry, we're working with 3-day-old data.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, so fun. Okay, so you mentioned a few action items to get people over to GA4, one being Search Console, which will, what is Search Console for those that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so Google Search Console, one, it's where you're going to index your website, which is super important because you spend all this money and build a website. And then you wait for Google to one day crawl it and actually put you in there, which is a big misconception for people. People think if you go on a search engine and you type in a website or a search, you are searching the entire world of web. Google has like a Rolodex, if you're old enough to know what one of those are. So your website is in that Rolodex. Google has checked it. They think it's secure. They think it's valuable. You have submitted it. It doesn't see anything that violates their guidelines. And now they've put you in their Rolodex. So indexing your website's huge. I've seen people where they've had a website for 2 years and it's like, they're like, I can't find it anywhere. And they're like, but I don't understand. I see traffic. I'm like, yeah, well, it's whatever you're directing through your email or, people can get to it that way, but they'll never find it in a search. So Google Search Console is good for that. Google Search Console will let you know if you have errors. So if there's a URL broken, if your speed is off, if a video is broken, if your sitemap isn't lining up, they're a fantastic tool where they'll shoot you an email and be like, something's off, especially in e-commerce. They'll tell you like your, what is it, UPC, like a UPC is broken or something like that on one of your products. So they're really good for that. They're good for indexing. Then when it comes to content, you can look and see your organic searches. So when you go into the organic area, it'll show you all your content that is doing really well, where it's fluctuated up and down. And that gives you an opportunity to go back and look and say, okay, well, blog 101 or podcast 101 got a ton of traffic, but podcast or blog, 110 did horrible. So you go and you compare the two and you see, maybe you weren't feeling great that week. Maybe you didn't do as much promo, but you can look and try and identify where that was, and you can go in and optimize it and get it back up there. Or you had something that went really well and almost viral. It's been 2 years. You see it dwindling down. Go in and revamp it. Don't change the URL. Don't do any of that, but go in and put fresh content on there or update industry standards or whatever the blog may be about. So that is what Google Search Console is fantastic for. And you also need it to set up Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Manager is for our non-coding people. So it gives you a tag that is easy. Like we were talking about, set up a tag for conversions made through purchases, conversion through clicks, conversion through subscription. So it's really letting you niche down on what you're tracking, what you're converting. So that all feeds into your analytics properly. You know what you're looking at, and you don't have clicks being tracked as sales and all of that. And you could even set up in your conversion for purchases, like the value. So if you have a flat rate or an average rate, you can set the value in there too. So then it could even track the value goals. Then go into Google Analytics, make sure that's set up. That's pretty simple. When you're getting ready to go into GA4, that's where it gets a little complicated because you're doing it all within that analytics. So you have to create like new properties and set it all up that way.
So my understanding of Google Tag Manager, which we do use, is it acts like a container for all the tracking for things. So if, for example, you have a Facebook pixel, you have a TikTok pixel, you have your AdWords conversion pixel, you have tracking on your website. And my understanding of Tag Manager as it's currently formed is that instead of you taking snippets of code and putting them all individually onto your website, Tag Manager acts as a container. So you have one piece of code that you can basically insert all those pixel stuff, and that one container code for Tag Manager will go onto your website just to make it easier to manage. outside of it just being an easier, more compact system, what are some perks that Google Tag Manager lets you do? Is it just better tracking and setup?
Yeah. So like that, like you said, that's a container for all of your tracking, your pixels. But then you can create so many different ones to find out the behaviors of your clients.
That's cool.
Like you can create different containers that are tracking different things.
Okay.
And then all of that data feeds into the analytics. And then even further than that, if you're a really big nerd like I am, but I have clients who are like, I don't want to have to go to Google Council, Google Tag Manager, Google. I don't want to have to go in all these things and then look at our funnels and look at our TikToks. And so we actually custom create Google Data Studios. So we pull all of that in. So they have one dashboard that gives them all of that information. So they only have to look at one view. And that's also live.
Love Data Studio. Yeah. It's funny, like out of 10, from 1 being doesn't know what analytics is to 10 being expert level, I was like a 2 coming into this conversation. So I thought it would be like really good because I represent the majority of newbies, I guess, who are like, I understand data, but we're just getting started with like understanding it holistically outside of the ad platform. So I have learned so much. I'm curious, before we move into just wrapping up the episode, is there something I should have asked you today that I haven't?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said before, like our goal is to make sure that SEO is accessible for everybody, and people get intimidated by SEO. And if nothing else, I hope the episode 1 identifies that SEO is a why. It's analytics, it's website speed, it's content, it's ads. It's like, there's so much in it, and it's not to be intimidated by, but it's broken down pretty nicely for people to say, okay, I need to work on this. And then I need to work on this. And once you start working through those things, and analytics and Search Console and Tag Manager, like those are the foundation next to your website, that people aren't as intimidated by it, and they can really start to get into it and see where their efforts are going. I know there's nothing more frustrating as an entrepreneur or a business owner than going, I feel like I'm doing so much and I don't see where it's going.
Yeah.
I don't see the benefit. I'm working 40 hours a week, sitting in front of the computer, creating, doing all this for what? Because they can't see anything. They may see sales trickling in or emails list growing a little bit, but to really nerd out and have that gratification as an entrepreneur of saying, oh, 150 people read that blog. That is so exciting. You know what I mean? To have that it takes some of that frustration away and allows you to stay in love with your business.
Yeah. And the dream setup for like, we put out a blog, 150 people read it, but we got 3 purchases from that blog specifically. Great. Versus, oh, we got 3 sales last week. Can't tell you where it was from. We don't know where they came from.
Yeah, because you can't duplicate it. You have no idea, so you can't duplicate it. Yeah. And even just going further into that, knowing how to format a blog. You know, a lot of people go in and go, let me just put all these links in there and make sure I use marketing 75 times in the writing. Google knows.
They don't use
it. You know, they don't have a person reading it, but Google knows, and they'll identify immediately that your keyword stuffing, you immediately get pushed down in ranking.
Yeah. Or the use of easy to read headers that line up, and like even the intro paragraph with like, this blog is about blank. And I mean, there's a bunch of stuff about that, but essentially one of my biggest like aha moments with SEO and blogging with blog structure is like, you have to make it easy for Google to read the piece, know what it's about, so that they can serve you the right traffic that's actually searching for something like that, because they're looking for quality of content and relevancy. So the easier you can make it with the use of headings, et cetera, the better your chances of getting that traffic are.
Yeah. And especially now too, like all the AIs that are coming out, content AIs.
Yeah.
We love them. They're great. Google's onto them. They're already saying like, we will immediately debunk it pretty much. They're good for outlines. They're good to give you ideas if you're in a block, but people that are writing AI blogs and not editing them or not, and putting them up, they're going to see a huge decrease going forward. They need to be heavily, heavily humanized, if you will.
Yeah, because it's quality control, and that's a whole other conversation. But that was another thing that I got from you, that AI is great because it gives us higher efficiency and laziness, but the quality of content is just not there. There's no depth of human.
Yeah, you can't replace a human.
You can't. Absolutely can't. So, awesome. Well, I guess my last question is, how can people get in contact with you? I understand you have a lot of like ad hoc services that you help people with.
So all of our services, contact information is on our website at 1x1impression.com, because you only get one chance for a first impression.
Yeah.
And then all of my socials is SEO expert _Desiree.
Love it. And you're on all the platforms?
All the things.
Love it. Awesome. So I'll put links to some of them below. And guys, please
That's a hint. Make sure all your handles match. That's part of SEO.
Yes. That is I love it. Guys, thank Desiree for coming out today by giving her a big thumbs up and saying thank you in the comments. Outside of that, if you like this episode and you want more like it, be sure to hit subscribe. And I look forward to seeing more content like this. Apart from that, Desiree, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been awesome.